Roll call. Mr. Nemick, are you here?
I am here now. Yes, sir.
Ms. Pearson? Ms. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Ballon?
Here.
Robert Clemens, I'm here. Ms. Pearson, one more time. Well, we do have a quorum, so I'll call the meeting to order. Somebody will let me know when Ms. Pearson is here, then I will add her to my list.
Yes, sir.
Jennifer, do we have any public comments?
No public comment, sir.
The first item on the agenda is the review and approval of the financial amendment for the 24-25 functional expenditure. Tammy?
Hello. So here we have presented the functional amendment for the general fund and also our food service fund. We can see here the 24-25 approved budget is in the first column, and the second column is the proposed amendment, and then the final budget after the amendment. We are reducing revenues by 1.7 million due to a decrease in enrollment. I have projected the amounts for our June payrolls that are still outstanding, TRS, healthcare, and also some interest that's pending for June. All of these transactions have been included, which shows a deficit of our final budget there of $634,800. We're reducing our expenses by $1.3 million as well. We know that the charter indicator for number 10 talks about the audit budgetary comparison schedule, which is what we're doing today. And the measure there is a 10% rule for being over or under your budget. And so we've taken that into consideration when preparing this functional amendment. We are projected to be in full compliance for our program intent codes this year, which means we have spent the expected amount of money in each of those programs as indicated by TEA. And based on this information, our administrative cost ratio for this final amendment would be 9.7%, which would get us 6 out of 10 points. We're requesting additional dollars for function 21, 23, 31, and 41. Most of these due to additional payroll costs that weren't budgeted for. And function 31 had some additional professional services that were not in the budget. Does anybody have any questions?
Do you have a best estimate of what our fund balance or our cash balance to be at the as we close this year out with a $634,000 deficit?
So if we close out at 634, that would come out of our $15 million fund balance. The cash we won't have an estimate of cash until we're closer to the end of the month.
Okay. Ms. Pearson, are you here now?
I'm here. Sorry.
That's fine.
Tammy, I do have questions. What repercussions do we have in having that kind of deficit?
So it's going to eat away at some of the fund balance. If you keep your cash days on hand, you shouldn't lose. Some of the Charter First indicators have both, a cash piece and a deficit piece. So depending on how it all works out, our cash piece for the May financials was 100 days cash on hand, so we should still be okay with that. So this is just eating away at your fund balance.
And how long do you think, or do you foresee that we'll be able to recover, or can you kind of give me a timeline of what the future looks like?
I think I'll defer to Dr. Anderson for that.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes, I would say that going forward, we had several things that hit us, and Tammy, you can say it correct, but we ended up with an attendance error that cost us what, 216, Tammy?
Yes.
Yeah. So 216, which, Jim and Dr. Givens and the team that handles attendance, we've discussed that. So that plays into this situation. And then with the increased funding that we expect from the state going forward, I think, and because we built our budget for next year based on what we hit this year. So I think that going forward, we should be in much better shape. There was several things, that ended up hitting the budget that was unexpected this year, Ms. Pearson.
Can you tell me more about the attendance error?
Well, that's what it was. It was a 216,000. Basically, as Mr. Clemens says, it's not uncommon, but for us, that was very high. And so it's basically submitting when you settle up with the state at the end of the year on attendance, there was some errors in the attendance that we had to pay the state back for.
Is this from prior year or from current year?
Prior year.
Prior year. I don't think our fund balance, that this is particularly significant. Cash and bank, cash position, which is more important to me. We don't know yet what that'll be. I'm assuming we're still going to be somewhere maybe around $6 million, give or take. I think the most significant thing to me, and our banker may be on the line, but it seems to give our bankers a real nervous feeling about our status and going forward. I think that's probably from last year the biggest problem I've seen is making our banker a little bit nervous. And certainly, if we're able to turn this around next year and show a surplus, it should calm their nerves.
So I want to go back to the attendance error. When we're talking about the attendance error, what other implications does it mean? And the 16, I'm sorry, when we're talking about we're having to pay back the state of 216 for an inflation of attendance that we reported, is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically it wasn't inflation. It was just that we had some campuses when you settle up, there may have been students that were accounted for that later when we reconciled were not present. So that's kind of where that comes into.
And how did that happen?
Well, it's just, you may have had a substitute in a class where, or a teacher may have thought they saw somebody but it was somebody else and counted, so it's a variety of things that happens. I think, and Mr. Clemens, you can chime in, but it happens to most districts. But of course, for RMA, it was a little bit larger this year.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't be a day of attendance. It doesn't sound like it.
No. It's accumulative from all 180 days of school that, it's a settle up. So it could have happened at this. So the three campuses, because I talked to Jim, the three campuses where the problem occurred was Odessa, Fort Worth, and Pasadena.
I don't know, obviously don't know specifics. I do know that one thing that factors into settle up is that this day and time, TEA tracks all students. And so there are occasions when we have a student enrolled and they might also be enrolled at the same time in another school. And when TEA puts all the numbers together, two districts cannot get funded for the same students the same day. Mm-hmm. And as those numbers all come together, we have a lot of students come and go. We have a lot of dropouts from dropout recovery school. We have a lot of students. I'm thinking that our enrollment is somebody will have to tell me maybe 3,000 during the year, and our attendance is 1,100. So we have a lot of students come and go. And during this coming and going, students can be enrolled in two districts at the same time. Both districts, in good faith, could report them not knowing whether they're enrolled in their school or not, in another school or not. So that could account for some of the correction.
But wait, so I'm trying to understand because Forward and Pasadena are our smallest enrolling campuses. So is it normal? And this is not my skill of expertise. I will be very honest with this, but I'll turn it to Mr. Clemens. Is it normal to have that? I mean, for the size of our district, to have now we're talking about the 216 in the enrollment portion of it, right? The question would be: is it that high? Because I don't think I've experienced this in the last few years that I've been here. That's one question. And the second question, I mean, taking into consideration the enrollment amount of these two campuses, how else does it affect us? And it's just not on the reporting factors of finance, but
Yes. That's really it, because that's what the settle up is. That's where you and TEA reconcile. And so, I mean, it happens, whether it's 10 kids at a district or, ISDs probably have way more than that. But it's where that's the point of the settle up, is to get together and say, okay, this is what we owe you. Sometimes TEA owes the district, so it's not now if it's a agency, now if you're accounting for kids and they're not even enrolled in your school or something like that, then TEA may say, hey, we need to investigate. But when you settle up, that's your period of honesty where you make right with them or they make right with you.
right. But I guess what I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to go any further, but well, in a way I am. We have a very low enrollment in Pasadena. We have had for years, right? And this has always been my contention of explaining why the Pasadena campus, we should relook into it. But for me, and I guess the 216, and I understand that over a period of year it would accumulate, but it's not hard to miss under 50 students in one campus. And so now my question is not only on the finances aspect, but how does it affect everything from our grading points? And it just seems that now we're looking at numbers in the past that may not be reflective of what we have seen. And so there's a little bit of concern in there. We haven't even gone back to the current budget that we have now or the budget deficit that we have, but there just seems like to be a lot of questions and that we need to ask or get answers as to really how this is affecting the overall district and how did it happen?
Well,
And maybe I'm maybe seeing too much into it, but this is where I asked Mr. Clemens and Ms. Thompson, who have the experience of working in an ISD and administrating. Is this normal for campuses? Let's just talk about these three campuses of the size.
Ms. Pearson, I agree with you that it is a concern. I would suspect with the three campuses that were named, we were told three campuses, and I would, not having seen anything and report of any kind, I would assume that the correction in Odessa was probably a significant amount of this, because that's where most of the kids are. And you're right.
actually, it was Dr. Givens, are you on?
Sam.
It was Pasadena, right? Was the largest when Jim told us this morning?
Um,
Pasadena had the largest.
I don't remember who had the largest, sir, but
I wrote it down that
the three were the most. I want to make it. It's not just the three. I just want to make that clear. It's all 9, but those were the highest who had the highest issues. So I don't want you to think it was just 3 campuses that had issues. It was all 9 campuses had some discrepancies. Those 3 had the highest, and of the 9. Okay.
Okay. I would like to see, I guess, updated numbers for that particular year, not only on the financing aspect of it, but also how does it affect our ratings? How does it affect the overall? Because we're basing the numbers basically that we're reporting. I imagine that with the number of students that we reported before, that there is going to be other discrepancies, not only in the financial aspect, but also on the reporting, grading, things of that nature. I think we have to go back and look at what the real numbers are now, because it seems to me that was reported.
Rating and all of
Our
that.
academic ratings was
That
not.
doesn't affect all of that. It has no effect. It
Well,
was
then
just
that's my question then. So if the grading had no effect, how did we come up with a deficit of reporting of number of students that were present, but yet have a correction of or a correct amount of grading? And how was this on scene?
because if a Miss Pearson, if a student wasn't there, they didn't turn in an assignment, so they couldn't have got a grade. I mean, unless you're just giving grades for based on attendance, so kids here you get 100. That's not how that works. So therefore, it's still they had to be there for STAR test. I mean, we can't submit. I can't sit down, and Dr. Givens can't sit down and fill out a STAR test for a kid. I mean, they have to be there, so that has no effect on the accountability. I mean, if a kid's not there, we didn't submit a test for that kid. They weren't online to do their testing, so it doesn't have an effect on your academics as far as that goes. Just like in a classroom, if a kid isn't in a math class, they can't turn an assignment. So that may, like I say. And it happens because it happened to me when I was a teacher. I may be taking attendance and I look over to where John Boy normally sits and somebody's in John Boy's seat, but it's not John Boy. And I say, oh, he's here. And so, I mean, it happens. It happens.
I get that it happens, but I want to know how it happened.
I just
That's
gave
just
you an
it. And
example. If I
right.
look
Well, no, no,
over,
no. I get that, but I don't want to see examples. I want to see the actual numbers. I don't want things that are in the air and explanation. Like this is not a small number. This is nearly $250,000 that we're having to
what I
return with with over a $500,000, almost $1 million really of deficit, basically, when you take into account the money that we returned. Uh, that is not a small issue for campuses that are really under 50 or even, I mean, what is the population for Pasadena has always been a very small campus. And it's not even looking at the discrepancies of the other campuses. So again, I'm going to ask, I mean, I get that the reporting on so we're saying that the reporting for academics, for example, you had 10 kids that actually took it and we're having to correct reporting on academics, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
you keep saying academics. It has nothing to do with. It has no
Well,
impact on
I'm not
academics.
just talking about academics. I'm talking about the whole number basically at this point now. We're not just talking about we're
Maybe
not just
Mr.
looking at
Clemens
the
can explain it.
finances, but if there's an error on the finances on the number of kids that were reported, what else is there an error on?
Mr. Clemens, can you explain it better than I'm able to?
No, sir.
I mean, it doesn't, it impacts your dollars. It doesn't have
Yeah.
a
Ms.
impact.
Thompson, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, I was just saying, we're talking about attendance. We're not
Yes.
talking about the test that they're taking, the academic piece. We're only talking about attendance, who was in that seat at that particular time. And when TEA looked at this, they looked at us compared to a whole bunch of other schools. And if John Doe was on our roll and was at another roll, then they had to decide who got credit for that student. So that's when we talk about attendance and we look at Pasadena, okay, in particular, they may have been the ones who had the attendance was scared or something. Well, it was not what it should have been, I say. So all I'm saying now is that this was for the 23-24 school year. Is that correct?
Yes, that happened. Yeah, it's a year lag.
That was for the 23-24 school year. And I think with Pasadena, we've always been concerned about whether we should keep that campus or let it go. I mean, that's the conversation that I had in my head. That we need to make a decision. We can't go back and do anything. It is $216,000 that we have to pay back. Now, if we need to moving forward, we need to decide if Pasadena needs to stay open or close.
Well, I think we've recommended it for the last, I mean, at least I could say that I've recommended it in the last 2 years.
But
This
if
is
you
something we
remember,
should
it's
look
in
at.
that loan and that
Right.
strangled us because
But more
Oh,
than
yeah.
Pasadena, these numbers are concerning to me. And is this normal? Yes or no for a school or a district of our size?
I think you're right, Ms. Pierce, but the thing moving forward, maybe we should have a monthly recap of where we are and where we're going in this area. That's the only thing I can say. For the 25-26 school year, we can ask for additional information to know where we are so that we
Well,
can.
tell me, where does the settle up occur? Or when?
It occurs throughout the year and it's taken out of our FSP payment
Mhm. But at what point?
throughout the year.
Okay.
That's TEA's timeline.
It also can go back more than 1 year.
Yeah.
It's very possible it can go back 2 years, perhaps.
Yes,
On
Right.
occasion,
Yeah.
3 years.
yes, it absolutely can.
But I agree with Ms. Pearson that for the next meeting, if we had a copy of whatever documentation we have from this to look at the documentation, and if Dr. Gibbons says it really involves all the campuses to some degree, that would be an interesting document for us to look at and perhaps understand better. I've done this my whole life, and obviously I can't give a really good defense of it. And so if we saw the documentation for the next meeting, that perhaps could serve a good purpose.
Does snapshot enter into this at all? Bob,
I'm sorry?
the snapshot enter into how we come up with this
No.
deficit? Not at
No.
all.
EDA.
No. It can be
It
on
could be.
that foundation funding worksheet. It could be something related to some weighted ADA that was submitted wrong. It could be state comp money, something submitted. It could be more than just butts in the seat for a certain day, or it could be that the butt in the seat was a special ed kid, or was claiming transportation, or claiming state comp funding. If we saw the report, perhaps it would, perhaps it wouldn't give us a better feeling about it, but it would be a step in the right direction.
Right. It may mean something like we need to look closer to the PRS program. I mean, it's a whole bunch of factors that enter into this. Is that correct, Mr. Clements? Could be a PRS student that we didn't track or service and miss some days. I mean, that it's about
anything that generates funding.
So next question, we're going back to the same question. How, what does this mean for us moving forward?
As I said, I think the primary thing is it keeps our banker on edge.
Dr. Anderson, this is Jackie Hernandez. I can comment on a couple of these items if y'all don't mind.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Hi. Ms. Pearson, I'm Jackie Hernandez. I work with CSS, right? We have a number of charter schools that I work with. And in this year, just alone, right, I know you're looking at the deficit of $634,000 for the general fund for the school. That's actually normal right now. And for a district of this size, it's probably faring a little better than what we're seeing in other schools of this size. And that's mainly because just the whole education system is just underfunded right now. I think as a whole, the school's books are not overly that negative because we have been able to capture some extra revenues through some federal grants that the school has. Overall, when we go into audit, our deficit or the deficit you'll be looking at will not be that large. The HB2 bill did just recently pass, so that will help offset some of these negative deficit dollars that you're looking at right here. There will be some, increases to teachers' pay, but that will be offset by increased revenue from the state to cover that. And then in terms of settle up, Mr. Clements is right. I've seen TEA do settle ups 3 years later. It's consistently changing. What they're doing is they're verifying some of the allotments, right? So it's not just maybe a person that's enrolled that may be enrolled in another school, but it also could be the verification of some SPED allotments, right? Some dyslexia allotments, right? If those aren't verified or the state comp ed is not verified, then there will be a settle up in that part as well, which does cut back on your FSP. So I think the amount that we're talking about here is 213,000. So it equates to about 18 students overall that we're looking at over 9 campuses, if we were to equate those dollars to students. So in terms of error, it's not a large error reporting, but it is when we do talk to the schools about allotments, right, and entitlements that they're tacking on to students that we are putting in the PEIM system, we ask that it be verified, right? So it seems like there's some items that may not have been completely verified. So I'm sure the school has gone into that and looked at that and put up parameters on how to make sure that if any of those settle up items were pointed at in these type of entitlements allotments, that they are being vetted.
And Tammy, have we done that?
Can you repeat the question?
Have we done that? Have we been able to kind of do the cross verification? And again, we're talking about two different things, right? We're talking about a 214 deficit or that we had to pay back, or 214 that we had to pay back on a reporting number. Now we're talking about a $600,000 deficit as well. But going back to Jackie's point, I mean, she's saying that there's parameters basically in which we had to cross verify. How is that done?
So that's part of the PEIMS. So those true ups are part of the PEIMS data.
Okay. Can we have that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Any other questions for Jackie? And again, as you can see, the projected deficit was 230. Several things too, Ms. Pearson, I'll throw the other one out that contributed to this, is that unfortunately, ESSER funds were overspent, and the general budget had to absorb $150,000 for that, which I was not happy about either. So again, a lot of these things are self-inflicted that I've addressed with staff that can't happen. It just cannot continue.
Dr. Anderson, I think perhaps your last statement perhaps answered Ms. Pearson's concern. With that said, I would entertain a motion if we accept the the amended budget as presented.
Rose Thompson, I move that the board approve the budget amendment for the 24-25 fiscal year.
Do we have a
Donald Bennett,
second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second that we accept the amended budget as presented. Vote, Mr. Nemick,
Yes.
Mrs. Pearson,
I don't feel there's enough information for me to accept this, so my answer is no.
Mrs. Thompson,
Yes.
Mr. Bayon.
Yes.
Motion carries. As I had said earlier, I do think it would be a good idea if the next meeting we were to receive some kind of a copy of whatever documentation that we're furnished from TEA to document this so that we could look at it a little bit closer, and perhaps Ms. Pearson could get a better feel about it if she could see more detail on it. As I said,
I think we all should, be a little bit concerned about this, but at this point, we can't get deeper and deeper in debt because of where we are now. And I think this budget deadline for submitting this budget is when? The budget amendments.
it's got to be this fiscal year, which is
Next week.
today, the 20th. We got about 11 days. 10 days.
11 days. And because of that, I want to go ahead and I'm pleased that we did approve the budget to stay in line with other guidelines. But moving forward, as board members, we have to be more diligent of looking at reports, siphoning through them, and because after all is said and done, it's on us.
And let me
Correct.
say this to that, Ms. Thompson. I was at a meeting. Jennifer and I were at a meeting this week with Joe Halfer. And one of the things, and I was going to submit this suggestion to the board, Joe Halfer suggested that boards should have a financial committee and that meets monthly to review the finances. And I think I thought it was a smart idea. And would the board be open to that? I know
think
Mr. Clemens likes to know the hard numbers, but it would be a monthly meeting with a few board members to have a finance committee to review those things.
I think it would be a good idea.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
She said she thought it would be a good idea.
yes, we can't get to the end of the rope and say, look backwards and say, how did we get here? We have to move forward and be in tune with what's going on as we move forward.
But
And
this is somewhat like the audit presentation that'll come in November. We have to vote to accept the audit. We don't have to necessarily like the audit. We don't have to approve of it, in that we don't approve of everything that's in it or anything that it resolves. But in effect, we have no option but to accept the audit from the auditor as he presents it and as the business office presents it. So in this budget amendment is somewhat the same. We don't really have a lot of option other than to accept it. Question it, have concerns, yes, but for today, we have to approve it, either that or have another call meeting in the next 11 days. I would say going forward that I would like to think about scheduling this meeting, or perhaps scheduling our last meeting period as late as we can. I'm not sure that in my mind that staff vacation starting is a good enough reason to delay this, to even have today's meeting, that we should have the meeting as late as we can to have the best information we can have. And
I asked that, Mr. Clemens, if the meeting could be moved to next week, but it was decided that it would be today.
Well,
I just think
yeah, just going forward next year and years to come, I think that we certainly could consider having this meeting as late as we can. I know one district that I have worked with in the past, they're having their meeting Saturday morning of next week. I don't know what day that'll be. Let's see, 27th, 28th. They're having it on a Saturday morning on the 28th to have it as late as they can have it in order to have their very best information and time to put it together. And
I don't know.
we do understand that this is moving.
Let me ask Jennifer, what was the logic for having it on the 20th? Can you remind me, because I've forgotten?
So the
We had it last-
20th, yeah, so the date was already established at the annual meeting last year. And it was part of the
Board approved calendar.
the approved calendar, yes. And at the time that I remember, nobody mentioned anything about changing the date. There was no input on this specific meeting.
I requested
Want to push it
that the
back.
meeting
Now,
be
board
moved to
calendar
next
has
week.
already been approved for next year, but we can amend that to push it later if Mr. Clemens would like if the board would like for it to be later, correct?
It should be later because the numbers that we have to do are still rolling numbers. Is that correct?
Yes, that's why Tammy had to project, and that was one of the things the year before. Now I'm gonna be transparent. The year before, the board wanted her to project out because we were trying to get it done. So it's just like I say, but if you want to push it to later, then we will push it to later. But last year,
Yes.
the board approved the calendar for the 20th. So
Mhm.
I think it needs to be
Later.
later, but
Yeah.
also I don't necessarily accept the fact that it can't be done. Doesn't have to be projected. Salaries should be accrued. Purchases, purchase orders. There might be that should all be accrued, and things that haven't. I think that's all can be nailed down. It's just a matter of time. We'll have a little bit different situation this next year. We'll have another a level of accountability. The changes we're making in our back office. We'll have a different accountability chain.
Right.
to
And even
some-
then, yeah, as a board, I think that if it was something that we needed to do at a later time, we wouldn't object to, at least I wouldn't, if it was suggested or needed.
So then, Jennifer, we have it for next year on the agenda, the calendar that was approved Friday. Is that correct?
Yes, but it's so my understanding, does the board want to move it to the very last Friday before central office leaves?
So we'll bring it
Or
back
summer
to the
break.
next
I
board meeting.
don't. I don't think we have to make that decision today. We can make that decision.
As needed.
Yeah, as needed.
It doesn't have to be on a Friday. It can be on a Wednesday, just so we can get everything in. And another thing that came up was that, this deficit is because of that ESSA funds too. I remember that
There's a lot
clearly.
of things that played
That's
into this.
a lot. So it's you have to have the big picture. So like Mr. Clemens said, we don't have to do that today, but that meeting does not have to be on a Friday. It can be on a Wednesday or whatever.
Right. And it sounds like it
Yeah.
needs to be a larger meeting with more information than we have presented today. Then
Well, I would ask Ms. Pearson that you and Mr. Clemens, y'all get together and decide what information you want us to bring. And then we can provide that information ahead of time so that you all have. But if we don't know what you're wanting, we don't know what to provide you.
I think basically what we want is full picture of what TEA is saying to us so that we will know how to decipher and come up with a clearer picture of where we are. So reports that you get from TEA, just make them available to us.
So, Jackie, are you have an understanding of what that might be?
Yeah, I think I do, Dr. Anderson, and I would, work with Tammy to show you guys some stuff to see if it'll be acceptable. Answer the questions.
And I'd like to be on that as well.
thank you.
So we have approved the budget as amended. Next item on our agenda today is
Yes, Mr. Clemens, before you move to the
Yes.
next item, I just want to make an announcement to the board that we'll be leaving at 11:30 today. If we're not finished by then, I have an obligation that I cannot miss.
okay. Understood. And we do have a quorum, so we should be able, if necessary, but I think we should be. We'll see. Should be through. Next action item on the agenda is back office support proposals. Dr. Anderson.
So as you know, the board has decided that the district is going to move towards back office full support. And we had two that we were going to select from. Now, Mr. Clemens, you asked for a contract, but neither were going to provide an actual contract until we had worked out all the details. So we've got to decide which one you want me to work on getting the contract from. So we still have the proposals. This is what I'm going to state, simple facts. One, we are currently with Charter School Success. We've been with them now, Jackie, 5 years, I think. And they currently have our operations. They currently have been assisting us. They provide the HR support services. They provide the PEIMS. They provide some support, very little support for the federal grant side, and then the business office a lot of the financials and things of that nature, mailing, doing the checks, the direct deposit, all that kind of stuff, and facilitating all those reports. The second person is Kimber Ficello, and that company, I think she's been very aggressive to get our business. I think maybe a smaller outfit, but I think she's very willing to work with us. We had some conversations this week about the supports, HR support, and she does not have that readily available, but her response was that she would contract it out, that she could contract it out. And I asked her, well, what impact would that have on the price that she's given us? And her response was that she would absorb that cost. So, but both companies are willing to do a 1-year contract with us. CSS has agreed to do a 1 year, as well as Kimber Ficello. And so those are the facts. I'm open to questions or discussion.
Dr. Anderson, would you guys like me to jump off the call?
Yes, if you would,
Okay.
that would be kind.
It was nice speaking with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we consensus of the board had really settled this in our last meeting. And again, while it wasn't unanimous decision, I think that decision has been made. I think we made it last week, and so the thing to do is to go ahead with that decision that was expressed at the last meeting in the executive session.
Which is CSS.
Yes.
And so then I asked the board to give me permission to negotiate and execute a contract with the company. I will not execute it until I bring it to the board, but to negotiate the contract and come back at the July 24th meeting with the actual contract for the back office service.
And I do think that the same factors that we talked about before, the 1-year contract and the
it will be
what all still stand, and the also just again for information purposes, all or at least the other two of the 3 vendors who made proposals do use contracted employees as well as direct employees. So contracting things out is fairly standard in the back office industry, so to speak. Absorbing the costs may or may not be, but contracting things out are standard. So if we
Contracting services out is the wave of a lot of organizations, from the military all the way down to school, everything. Contracting is a common element in corporate America now.
So it says this is an action item. Do we?
Yes, I need permission to negotiate the contract with CSS and I'll bring it back to the board before I execute it. So there is a motion, Mr. Clemens, there.
Do I have a motion? I would make a motion that we authorize Dr. Anderson to negotiate a contract within the parameters of our discussion, 1-year contract. Bring it back to us at the next meeting for final approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, a second, that we authorize Dr. Anderson to negotiate a final contract with CSS. Vote, Mr. Nemick?
Yes.
Mrs. Pearson?
Yes.
Mrs. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Ballin?
Yes.
Motion carries. I think that ends our listed agenda items. Public comment. Did we have any public comments before or now, Jennifer?
No public comments.
Okay, I think at this time, I want to go into closed session. This portion of the meeting may be closed to all but essential as deemed necessary by the board. We want to, as it says in a discussion regarding real property, deliberations about real property, deliberate purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Deliberations in an open meeting would be detrimental. Also, you won't. That'll do for right now. So we're going to closed session. It's 10:46. Jennifer, can you handle logistics of this? Get us in closed session.
Yes, I will. Give me 1 second. Mr. Clemens, I believe you're on mute.
Now, so we're back in regular session, coming out of executive session. It's 11:54. According to my list, all the board members are back except Mr. Ballon. He has left the meeting. He had to go to another obligation. We have any other business that needs to be on the agenda today, or anyone object to adjourning the meeting?
No objections.
Meeting adjourned. See y'all in July.
All right.
Thank you. Jennifer, can I get the start time for the meeting
Thank
for
you.
the closed session?
Bye, everybody.
Mr. Ballon is not here, but he has the information. I'm sure he will get it to me to sign and get it to you.
Okay. Well, I have the minutes, so I can go ahead and just, I'll do them real quick and then I'll send them over to you, Mr. Clements, for signature.
That'll be fine.
Okay,
Miss-
super. But I just need a start time for the
Miss-
closed session. I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
No, sorry. I was on mute. I was talking, but I was on mute and I didn't realize it. The start time was at 10:46.
Thank you. Have a good
Y'all
weekend.
enjoy your break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Have a good weekend.